Good Sunday morning and welcome to Inside Tennessee. Along with my colleague John North, I'm John Becker, your moderators this morning for a special edition of Inside Tennessee with three leaders in Knoxville. Knoxville Mayor Indya Kincannon is with us, the Knoxville Police Chief Paul Noel, and LaKenya Middlebrook, who heads the Office of Community Safety. We are so glad that all of you are here. Mayor, I want to get straight to this. We decided to do this because of what we have seen transpire over the last few years, but in particular the last few months. We have seen amazing things in this city, and we'll get to that. But first, let's talk about the reason that you created this Office of Community Safety. It was after a string of concern about homicides.
Yeah, back in 2020, we were experiencing unprecedented number of homicides. And then, unfortunately, in 2021, it got even worse. And public safety is job one, and enforcing the law and keeping people safe is something only the city, is responsible for. So we really wanted to take action and stop the violence. And we looked at best practices, we looked at traditional things, and we looked at what was working in other cities. Because when you go to that many funerals and have mourning family members saying, Mayor, what are you going to do about this? We have to stop the violence. We wanted to have answers. So we took action. In 2021, we asked the City Council to support us with funds. They did. They said yes. The community was 100% behind that. And then we applied those to best practices. And over time, with conscientious implementation, great leadership, community partners, we have reduced violence in our city to record low levels. We are a very safe city. And now we're working on sustaining those practices. And Ms.
Middlebrook, let's talk specifically about your role.
Yeah, so I came to the city in July of 2020, and as Mayor mentioned, in addition to dealing with COVID and all of the other things, we were experiencing record high numbers of homicides and a lot of alarm around what we as a city were going to do about that. And saw a lot of concern, but we very quickly realized that it was not necessarily from a community services standpoint anyone's full responsibility to handle that. Mayor Kincannon had the vision of starting the Office of Community Safety for the first time ever to really lead facilitating those community-based services and supports, those systems level services and supports to walk alongside the work that our partners at the police department do, because we realize that this is not a law enforcement only responsibility. There are other services, there are other supports, there are community voices that can support keeping our community safe, and so our office really facilitates convening those voices and helping to move us all toward a collective plan, and we're really excited about the partnerships that we've seen and the results that we're seeing because of that.
We'll talk more specifics. John North has some questions on that, but first, Chief, let me bring you in. Shoulder to shoulder here, partnerships. What's the role of the police department right now?
So the most important thing is that we're a team, right? The mayor is a leader of the city. She has said public safety is job one. So we work really closely with the Office of Community Safety. But right now, our role is to go out and target the most violent individuals in our city and do everything we can to get them off the street. And at the same time, the Office of Community Safety is working to try to get those people to take different options. And together, we're giving people the choice. Do you take the carrot? Or do you take the stick and ultimately either leave town or go to prison? And I think the result of 4+ years or 5+ years of doing that is what you see here today, record decreases in violent crime across the board.
Chief, the role of the police department is so important in success like this for a couple different reasons. One is that you may be dealing with a community that has had problems or a negative experience in the past with the police department, and the other is you've got a department of men and women who must enforce the law, and there's a traditional way that we've always thought about doing that, and then there's maybe the 21st century way of thinking about it. So how does the police department sort of fulfill both of those roles, trying to feel comfortable and have the community feel comfortable with it, and then also the department recognize that, hey, this is a way that you can make a difference that's not what you've seen on TV for decades.
Absolutely. So it's something that Mayor and I spoke a lot about when she was interviewing me for the job. You know, modern policing has changed so much, and it's so much more than just fighting crime in a traditional way. We have to get out and walk and interact with people and build those relationships. You know, our detectives don't have a crystal ball that they can look into to see who commits crime. They need help from the public. And the only way we're going to do that is if we build trust with the community, but we need to do that as a team. You see that, you know, the three of us sitting here lead the team, but there's so many people below us that are working to build those relationships and repair broken relationships. The three of us did a lot of that. And I think the result of that is you get more people coming forward. They help us solve crimes. And again, you see those record decreases in crime.
We have seen criticism nationwide where some numbers have dropped, and people will dismiss that saying, well, that's because people aren't reporting those numbers, and perhaps they aren't seeking help from police because the help isn't there. How would you say that's different in this community, Mayor?
Well, I think we have a strong sense of trust between the city and the community. Back 5 or 6 years ago, there would be a homicide that we know maybe dozens of people witnessed, and when we asked the community, did anybody see anything that can help us track down the suspects, no one would want to participate. And now when we have homicides or other kinds of violent crimes, people know our officers, they know LaKenya and the Office of Community Safety and our other community partners, and they come to us and say, before a crime even happens, they say, we're worried about something happening this weekend. Can you come out and just be more present and visible? Or can you have some peaceful activities to prevent these crimes from happening? So there's more trust, which is key. And people are reporting crimes. There's one crime that never goes underreported, and that's homicides, because you actually have a victim and a body. And our homicides are at record lows. I'm very confident that people feel good calling the city for help and calling 911 when there's an incident and they need some support. So I think that's a misperception. So I think that our crime reports reflect a drop in crime, and that is what you hear in the community. And I know because we're also talking to community members. Every time we adopt a new Project TLC area where we give them extra tender loving care, before we do anything different, we go and talk to the community members. Do you feel safe? If not, what would make you feel safer? And then we work with them to provide those services and fill those gaps. And then we go back 6 months later, a year later, say, is it working? And then they nod and say yes. And then they're worried about speeding or litter. And that's like, okay, we can live with that. That's problems across the city, and we want to work on those too. But we're not worried about people getting killed. We're
going to take a quick break on Inside Tennessee. Back with more of those specifics and the certain areas that you have applied some TLC and where we've seen the results. We're back with that right after this.
Really promising, really gives us encouragement that the work we're doing, the work that the men and women of the police department, we're headed in the right direction.
The field operations chief there with the Knoxville Police Department, Chief Noel, that's one of your lieutenants, talking about what we have seen, some extraordinary statistics. Before we bring John in, just to explain where we are in the city right now.
Sure. Right now, we have had 3 homicides so far this year. Non-fatal shootings are down 75%, and I'm really proud of the hard work that Chief Brian Evans and our entire team are doing to make that happen.
We left off the discussion with the mayor talking about TLZ zones, which I think are really important because one of the agreed upon sort of philosophies or strategies about this is you have to be really focused and specific about specific geography where you think you can make a difference. LaKenya, can you talk a little bit about what's been going on with the city of Knoxville? I think we had like 3, and you all just recently created a 4th. Can you talk about where they are and what kind of a difference you think they're making?
Absolutely. So Project TLC is our place-based strategy. Our violence reduction kind of collective plan involves a few different strategies, and our place-based strategy is Project TLC, and it stands for exactly what you think, tender loving care.
You came up with the name, I think.
Mayor Kincannon came up with the name, you know, as you mentioned, thinking about having that specificity and that intentionality and that hyper-focus on the areas that are most heavily impacted by violence, and recognizing that those communities need and deserve some extra support, some extra investment, and coordinated focus of both law enforcement and services, whether they're city services, community-based resources or supports, or just engaging with residents for community building. And so we started in East Knoxville with about a 7-block area. The central point of that is right there at Martin Luther King
near
and
the high
Chestnut.
school, right?
Just east
Just
of the
east
high
of it?
school. East of the high school. Probably about a mile or so east of the high school. Really, as Mayor Kincannon mentioned, what's really important for us in these areas is that we engage with the residents to understand what their needs are, what their concerns are, what they would like to see happen in those communities. So we started with East, and then we were able to expand several months later to Western Heights and Montgomery Village. And as you mentioned, we just added a 4th zone, which will be Lonsdale. And the important thing is we recognize that each of these communities is different. Their needs are different, and so it's not a cookie cutter solution. It's really resident driven and resident focused. Our office meets with residents in those communities regularly. We tailor programs and events and activities and discussions around what residents identify their needs as being, but we also coordinate with our law enforcement partners, with city services, with codes, with engineering, with 311, as well as service providers who are serving in those areas to make sure that we're coordinating our services, that we're communicating about what we're hearing and what the needs are so that we can have an impact in those communities. And I think we're seeing great results.
And does that start with surveys, or is it one-on-one communication for our viewers who haven't experienced it?
Yeah, so we literally canvass the community. We knock doors, we talk to folks, we have a survey that we use, but it's really intended to be conversational. And so it's those direct communications at the door that involves city staff. Sometimes law enforcement participates in those canvases. A lot of times they do. Community partners, faith leaders who serve in that area, who knock on neighbors' doors and talk to them on their porches and have conversations about what they are experiencing. And as Mayor mentioned, one of the things that has been especially exciting is to come back 6 months, a year later, and instead of hearing, I don't feel safe playing, outside, I don't feel safe sending my children out, I get tired of hearing gunshots at night. It's very unsettling to hearing, we really need speed humps and, more activities for children. And it really reinforces the fact that no matter where you live, no matter what your zip code is, everyone wants to feel safe, they want to feel connected to their neighbors, and they want to have a good quality of life.
And Mayor, we know exactly what Ms. Middlebrook said. It'd be nice to scale this. Every city in America would say, hey, let's do it. But you can't do it because it's different for even individual communities in our city. Is there one thing that you think has worked particularly well?
Well, I think that our people-based focus, there's place-based and there's people-based, and one thing that I learned from was this book by Thomas Abt called Bleeding Out, and it says if you're a doctor in an ER and a person comes in with gunshot wounds all over him, do you ask that person, like, did you have a hard childhood? Do you need a job? Do you have enough clothes? Or do you address the immediate acute issue? And of course, you're a doctor. You need to save the person's life before you can address the more systemic underlying issues. So when people see, children getting killed or anybody aged, they're like, we need to, have better literacy programs and, fight poverty and blight. And we do need to do those things. And we have a lot of partners in our city who are working on that with the city. But when you're trying to stop the violence, you need to focus your efforts on the people who are most likely to commit the violence or to be victims of the violence, and go to them and say, we see you. You're either going to end up dead or in jail. So you make the decision, and we want to help. And offer those carrots, but then also make sure there's some sticks as well. So developing out the carrots has been a challenge. It's taken several years to find those community supports for doing that, but staying focused, we can't do that for 202,000 people. We can't do project, TLC zones for the entire city. We do pride ourselves on having excellent services in our city, but this is extra for communities that may not think that the city is here for them, and now we're showing them otherwise.
Chief, we'll bring you into the conversation after a quick break here on Inside Tennessee. Back with more right after this. Welcome back to Inside Tennessee. We are privileged to have three leaders in our city with us in studio this morning. John?
Chief Noel, this is a significant kind of development for a police department to be taking part in. And police departments in the United States occupy such a significant and unique role in society. Some people are afraid of the police, some people are grateful and have no problem whatsoever. But I'd like to know from you, what are you hearing from your officers, and have you seen change, mental change, attitudinal change? Have you seen light bulbs go off? Have you seen people reacting within your force about what you all are doing and maybe even coming up with their own sort of ideas?
Absolutely. So I'm so proud of the men and women of our department. We've changed so much over the last 4 years, and you know, when the men and women get out there, especially when they walk, and to see them smile, to see them ride with the windows down and interact with people. But the thing that makes me, one of the things that make me the most proud is when the community, when they know the names of our officers, when they drive by, or I'm in the community and they say, Officer so-and-so was just here, and they're so proud of knowing the officer that works their beat.
Do you find also that there is a willingness to communicate and share information and otherwise nobody would have ever told the police department?
Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind we're solving more crimes now than we ever did before because of that trust we've built with the community.
Mayor, this sounds like something that is really working well for the three of you and the broader community. Is it woven into the fabric of this community? As we know, your time is, you have less of it now than you did before. So how do you ensure that this is part of your legacy?
Well, I do have 18 months left to serve as mayor of Knoxville, and making sure that our progress on keeping the city safe is sustainable is a priority in the next 18 months. I think that thanks to the leadership of LaKenya, Middlebrook, and Chief Noel, this is part of the air we breathe. This is how we do things now. And when people know that the police department can't keep us safe alone, it is about partnerships. So yeah, we are, this is not Indya Kincannon's vision, this is City of Knoxville. And I am confident that when the next mayor takes over, they're gonna be keeping this moving forward, because I know that they're not going to want to be going to funerals of loved ones who've lost their lives in our city. So if it's working, they're going to keep it going.
And to keep it working, how much money do they need, and what kind of investment do they need from leaders like LaKenya Middlebrook?
Yeah, having local investment in this is really smart. We have invested a lot in our public safety and police department, our fire department, but the Office of Community Safety and Empowerment is the part where we involve the community more. And I think we get a big bang for our buck. For every dollar we spend, you know, a little bit of money gets a lot of confidence and support, and we leverage that by using McNabb Center, community mediation, and other partners who want to do this kind of work but needed those connections. And so when someone comes in and they're at risk of committing violence, but they say, I want to change and I want to be peaceful, please help me, we can get them engaged with someone who can help with a job, with rent, all those sorts of things, so they can pursue that path of peace. So outcomes, safer city, and that's what the people want. And I think the people who elect the next mayor are going to be asking this question, are you going to keep this going? Can you keep Knoxville safe as it is now? And I'm confident the answer will be yes.
LaKenya, there are probably people watching us right now that are like, well, I would like to share something, or I would like to interact with you all. Is there a way that the public could do that? Maybe folks watching us right now. Is there a phone number, a website? What would you suggest?
Absolutely. If folks visit the City of Knoxville website, the Office of Community Safety and Empowerment, all of our information is there, and they can contact us. They can call my office, 865-215-3155, sorry. And on our website, we talk a lot about our partners that we work with. We do a lot of work with really great nonprofit partners and systems level partners, and all of those folks can use volunteers and support. And so we are happy to connect them with some of the great partners in our community who are doing this work, and connect them to some of the events and activities that they can connect to help support residents in our community. So absolutely.
Mayor, I'm going to give you the last word because we have to go here in about a minute, but it's so hard to prove something didn't happen because you did this. Yeah. What do you say to people about that conundrum?
Well, it reminds me a little bit of something that maybe isn't the best analogy in this day and age, but like my kids never had measles. I never had measles because we all get vaccinated. And these strategies are vaccinating us from violent crime. And so we need to keep the treatment going so we don't die or lose our loved ones to violence. And so that, I think, is something that we all want to keep ourselves safe, and this is the way to do it. It's been cost effective. People are celebrating graduations and weddings instead of funerals, and that's the way we can keep it going.
Mayor Kincannon, Police Chief Paul Noel, and LaKenya Middlebrook, we appreciate your perspective and your conversation this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. John and I will be back with more perspective on some of the news of the week right after this.
I think it's a part of our history. It's a part of all of our history. It's a part of my history, and these are things I want my kids to know about.
School board member Catherine Bike talking about the removal of roots from school libraries in Knox County. Late this week, we saw the reversal of that by the superintendent himself, John Ryswick, writing a memo saying, no, we're going to put that back on school bookshelves.
Immediately.
John, we'll get to that, but first, for people who don't know the significance of Alex Haley in this book, explain it.
So I have been around long enough that I was alive when this book came out. I was in high school. The impact was extraordinary for two reasons. First of all, America hadn't seen a book like this before that was exploring the black experience and slavery and all that had happened as told through Alex Haley. But also then you had a landmark TV series that everybody saw in the United States in about 1977. So for somebody like me and people of my generation and maybe even younger, this was a pretty amazing book.
It was a seminal work.
Absolutely. That's absolutely fair.
And then Alex Haley also with true roots in East Tennessee. He lived here.
He lived here, my goodness, he lived in two different places. He had a place in Knoxville, but then he also fell in love with a farm in the Clinton area. He befriended many people in Tennessee, from Lamar Alexander on down, you name it. My goodness, when I moved here in 1993, he had passed by then. His will was probated here in Knox County. So I was actually looking at the will and testament of Alex Haley. And then, of course, in Morningside, there is a huge statue of him that's quite a landmark.
Now to the news that was first made public that our friends at the Compass broke, and that was because of a section of this book that a library committee thought might break a state law that was passed in 2022 and then amended in 2024. That's what got it removed. Let's explain how it got back on.
Right. So Dr. John Ryswick, this past week, after much complaint from many quarters, from elected officials, from the public, realized we have to put the book back. He had done some exploration with legal experts about, well, where does this passage, and you said it, we're literally talking about a passage, a reference to something happening in the book. How does that fall in within the state law? He couldn't get an answer that gave him satisfaction one way or the other, so he said, I think it is best to err on the side of access, which is actually, I would argue, what you always ought to be doing. But yeah, John, I don't know about you, but there haven't been many instances where I've seen something blow up this hard and this fast. And this has only been 2.5 weeks.
It was pretty extraordinary. You can read more of our coverage right now, and also look for our upcoming coverage. We'll see a school board meeting on this coming up this week and discussing just where they go from here. More than 100 books remain on the banned list in Knox County. We appreciate you tuning in for our special edition of Inside Tennessee. John and I hope to see you next week.